Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Two Footed Tackle podcast. I'm your host, Ari Stamatakos, and we're back again for episode 16. Episode 16 of this World Cup season. We've only got 7 more to go, if I'm not mistaken. 7 more to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 more to go. I think 8 more. I'll probably do one after I'll probably do the final episode, as in like the episode for the final, and then an episode after that maybe. So 8 more, but 7 more in terms of the actual thing, which is pretty insane to think about. The fact that we're well and truly halfway through is quite absurd. Actually, nearly 2/3 of the way through, which is pretty mental. But yeah, it is what it is. I hope everyone's well. I hope the day has treated everyone nicely since the last time we spoke. I hope everyone enjoyed the football. It was, of course, 2 games which were not formalities, because I think both underdog sides, were definitely capable of getting a result. But I think we all know what happened. We all know how that panned out, and of course we will be speaking about both of those games very, very shortly. But yes, okay. I hope everyone is has recovered. I hope every Australian has recovered from yesterday. It was a pretty heartbreaking, pretty soul destroying day yesterday. But I think we can all be proud. I think I've said the word proud more times in the past 2 weeks than I've said it ever in my life apart from it. But no, I think we can hold our heads high, and we can look back and think about what it was, instead of crying about its ending. Smile because it happened, as the saying goes. But yes, of course, we will be covering both Poland versus France and England versus Senegal. But before we start that, I implore you all to subscribe to the Two Foot Attack podcast on YouTube, do the notification bell. Subscribe, notification bell, like it. All the audio platforms as well, and all the socials are all relevant links are in the description on YouTube and in the link in the bio of both Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for the support on the most recent podcasts. It's been more than what's the word? More than lovely to see. I think that's probably the way I should describe it. It's been more than lovely. It's been it means the world to me when I say growing and I see the support on it. It means the world to you. Thank you all very much for that. Now, let's start this and let's kick things off with 2 games, which I don't know how long this podcast is going to be, because both games were relatively, I wouldn't say boring, because it's hard to call them boring when you've got 7 goals from 2 games, right? But they weren't exactly exciting games, despite their scorelines. Of course, France-Poland ended 3-1 to France, and England-Senegal ended 3-0 to Senegal. Both games kind of went in the very similar mould as to what people would expect the game to go. Obviously, both France and England play relatively similar styles. Both sides don't necessarily like to dominate possession. Both teams don't like to play through the opposition. Both sides are kind of content to let the opposition have more of the ball than potentially they should against their sides. But of course, France got the job done in very just calming and kind of relaxed circumstances, and England as well, despite some scares at stages early on. They found their form and got the job done. So let's kick things off with the France-Poland game. Let's speak about that one more in-depthly. Now, the one thing that my mind has gone to straight away from that game is, how wrong have I been about France for fucking ages? Now, for those who have listened to this podcast before, and for those who know my thoughts about France, I don't rate them. And to an extent, I still don't rate them. I just think... I think I don't rate them in regards of the talent that they've got. Obviously, at this World Cup, it's a little bit different because of their injuries, but it's like fully fit. They are by far the best international squad in the world, and they're probably the best international squad we've seen since what are we talking about? Brazil 2002. They probably give that team a good run for their money. Even that Brazil team is what springs to mind, right? So they probably give that Brazil team a good run for their money. So this France team is stacked with talent. I mean, from the defence to the midfield to the forward line, it's absolutely stacked. And I have this kind of maybe subconscious is maybe not the word, but this kind of annoyance with Didier Deschamps because of his persistence on playing a brand of football and a style of football that doesn't play to his team's strengths. And what I mean by that is, and this is kind of contradicting myself, as I'm probably going to speak about. I want to touch on this point before I speak about each game. I am very critical of Deschamps, and I'm also in the same vein. I'm also very full of praise for Gareth Southgate. Now, the reason behind that is both managers play a relatively conservative style. France don't play this high possession, high tempo football like Spain do, like Germany have played in the past, etc., etc., like Brazil do. They don't play this high tempo, high energy, aggressive football like those teams. They are kind of conservative, quite conservative, like to sit a little bit deeper, soak up pressure, hit on the counter attack. Of course, we've got Mbappe and Dembele. You can hit on the counter all day long, right? Not a lot of fullbacks going to stop those two players, and we'll touch on Mbappe a little bit later. But what you have with that team that's different to the England team, who play a similar way of sitting back, playing on the counter attack, and using pace, etc., is that France's defense is so much better than England's defense, meaning that France have the luxury of playing this attractive style of football because they know that they've got that insurance policy. Whereas if you're playing expansive football, where in the final third, as an England manager, and you're playing with a 2-3-5 in the final third and being really expansive, trying to play this high energy football, and you know if you turn the ball over, you're going to leave John Stones and Harry Maguire exposed at the back. They're not exactly Rafa Varane, William Saliba, Ibrahim Konate, Upamecano. Like, the difference in quality there is drastic, especially at centre half. And I really like John Stones. I really, really do like John Stones. I think he's a fantastic footballer. I think on the ball, he's exceptional. Defensively as well, he's more than capable, more than solid at the level. Harry Maguire, I think, has had a fantastic tournament. He started on against Senegal. I'm 99% sure, yeah. How can I forget that? I literally watched the game. So Harry Maguire's been fantastic this tournament, no doubt, and he's had a good run of form for England in the past. But when you're talking one-on-one, when you're talking like leaving a player exposed, he doesn't have the pace, he doesn't have the agility, he is a little bit error-prone, a little bit clumsy at times, isn't overly reliable in terms of one-on-one situations. So you don't feel like you should, or like you can't risk overexposing yourself when you have those two slightly less elite centre backs protecting you. Whereas with France, I mean, they started what? They started Saliba, no, they started Varane and Upamecano, sorry, and then even that you have Koundé on the right hand side who practically cuts in to be a right back, a right sided centre back, I should say. So you have those three players. It's like, surely you could have the courage to just play a little bit more expansive and try and get into the game a little bit more and try and break teams down and risk turning the ball over and getting hit on the counter attack, but also in the same vein trusting the defenders that you've got and trusting the players that you've got in order to repel that danger and to get back and to stop anything that comes forward. You've got that luxury, whereas England don't. And I think that's a difference in my thinking about Southgate in comparison to far out. Well, oh my God, Deschamps, Jesus Christ. Literally just speaking about him. My difference in thought process between those two managers is that Southgate is doing the best with what he's got in terms of he's playing the best way for what he's got. I think Deschamps is playing a slightly safer way, which is smart because it's tournament football and it's tournament football, right? So you play smart football. That's how tournament football goes. You don't play risky football. You don't play football that could leave you exposed. You just play smart football. That's what Southgate's doing with England. That's what Southgate's doing with England through necessity, whereas Deschamps is doing it through not wanting to lose, which is fine and which works, which absolutely works. It's tournament football. You're there for 2 weeks. You just need to get You just need to get results, right? Form and attractiveness doesn't matter because you're not going to lose fans. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you don't lose fans of a national team because you play unattractive football. Fans of the national team just want success, right? And France have been given success in the ultimate way 4 years ago, right? And playing this slightly more subdued style. And when you go back and look at the goals in particular in 2018, they were heavily reliant on counterattacks, heavily reliant on capitalising on individual errors, and set pieces through free kicks, corners, and penalties. So that's tournament football. That's tournament football. So you can't kind of, as much as I've criticized them, and as much as I have, and as much as can't even speak. As much as I've, is that even how you say it? As much as I've criticized them, and as much as I've kind of pointed out key areas of exploitation for France, and as much as I've said that they're not good enough, you gotta tip your hat to them and say, all right, they got to the quarters. They're going to versus England, which we'll touch on a little bit later. I think that's going to be a tasty game. And apologies. And it's, you can't really knock them. You can't really knock them considering the injuries that they've got. I mean, they've got probably 5 first-team players not fit. I mean, Lucas Hernandez started the game against Australia, so you'd assume that he was the number one choice. Obviously, the two men in central midfield are not first choice. Antoine Griezmann, no, that's not his name. Fucking Karim Benzema would be first choice as well. Stefan Nkunku as well could potentially be in that starting 11. I don't think he'd play instead of Griezmann. I think he'd play alongside Griezmann. But yeah, it's funny how you can be so wrong, isn't it? It's funny how you can be so wrong. But I guess that's football, isn't it? I guess that's football where you can be wrong and you can kind of you can be wrong and you need to be able to be humble enough to eat your words. I think that's what I'm doing now, but I don't think they'll win it. Then again, I think going back to, this is what sticks out in my memory about this podcast more than anything is just how wrong I can be. I predicted Real Madrid in the last Champions League campaign to get knocked out at every stage. So round of 16 knocked out, quarters, semis, and final knocked out in all the stages, and they they obviously overcame a 1-0 deficit. What was it? They overcame a deficit against PSG, beat Chelsea, beat City, and then beat Liverpool. So maybe if I do this to France, they're gonna win it. So maybe I'll say France is gonna win it. France is so good. Because then I'll just use that reverse psychology maybe, but no. If we're going to speak on the game, which is I think the easiest segue to go through. If we're going to speak on the game, France kind of just did what they had to do. They started the game nice and they dominated the game nice and early. Apologies. They dominated the game nice and early. They got on the front foot. They got one that was winning those second balls. They were winning those 50-50s. They were really being very aggressive in the way that they played, especially out of possession. They were very aggressive in, I wouldn't say their press. I wouldn't say their press was aggressive. I would say their occupying of space was aggressive. I think they occupied aggressive spaces in the opposition. When the opposition had the ball, when Poland had the ball, France were really pressing. I wouldn't I said I didn't say they were pressing high. I said like what I mean by not pressing high is they weren't intensely pressing. They weren't like, I don't know, like how Liverpool press at times. They weren't like running full pelt at the ball carrier. They were just being conservative with their press. However, while doing that, they were occupying very advanced positions and quite aggressive positions, which forced Poland into turning the ball over, which forced Poland into not having any real, kind of in any real meaningful possession, because they don't have the quality to play around that aggressive positioning of France. They don't have the quality to play around them and to make space for each other. That's why I think when France come up against, maybe not England, but if France do come up against a Brazil or a Spain or a Argentina, sides who are a little bit better at just holding the ball and maintaining space or creating space and maintaining possession, I should say, it'll be interesting to see whether or not they're able to they are able to kind of get through that in a sense and get through that way of playing football and being able to defend against that. But they started the game very well. They were on the front foot nice and early. They were on the front foot nice and early. They were looking to dominate the tempo of the game. Not necessarily possession, but dominate the tempo of the game, especially. Poland got back into it a little bit throughout the middle. I wouldn't say they got back into it, but they definitely leveled things up. I think France potentially still had the better of things throughout that. France definitely still did have the better of things, in my opinion, throughout that maybe like 20 to 35, 40 minutes. But it was more Poland just kind of leveling things out. Rather than them getting on top of the game. France obviously just did well to repel any danger. Just knew that they had the game where they wanted it. Knew that if they wanted to put the foot on the gas and really stamp their authority on the game, they could. They just wanted to like conserve energy and whatever. And I think Poland's main thing was get to half time, which they did up until the 44th minute, where it was a Kylian Mbappe assist to an Olivier Giroud goal, which Kylian Mbappe assist to an Olivier Giroud goal, which really put the cat amongst the pigeons in a sense, and really just kind of maybe not put the cat amongst the pigeons, but really shook things up and made Poland uneasy, made Poland not really know what to do, and really just want to get to halftime only at 1-0 down. They did do that. They were in a position where they could have gone 0-0. They could have gone to half 0-0. They went into the half 1-0 down. So what they would have done to the mentality of them, I don't know. That would have obviously been shattering. That obviously would have been very, very of a shit thing to happen. That obviously is a shit thing to happen when you concede just before half time. It's probably the worst time to concede because the manager's already got his team talk written out in his head. Already knows what he's going to say. Already knows what tactics he's going to try and get across to the players. But when you concede so early or so soon before the halftime whistle, it's one of those things where it can really change the flow of a game completely. Rather, like it's probably the most impactful goal that you can score in the first half. I think maybe like if you score in the 20th minute, you are able to adjust a lot quicker. You can get to halftime and adjust in a much more effective way than if you score literally a second before halftime, where you need to like rip everything up and change things on the fly because you've only got 15 minutes to think about it. You've got the high pressure, etc., and all the plans that you have made prior to the goal are all pretty much redundant now. So obviously that would have given France the world of confidence. I would have destroyed Poland, their confidence wise, and really hurt them. And I think that showed in the start of the second half. Both sides were just really content with just playing football, just playing football. No sides were trying to take the game on. No sides were trying to neither side were trying to push the purpose a little bit more. If that's even the phrase, I can't think of the phrase right now. Push the I can't remember, but neither side were really trying to push the opposition back and trying to get on top of the game and really try to assert their dominance. Both sides were just more than comfortable in playing football, just maintaining possession, maintaining the way that they were playing, and just being really calm in the possession. And it was a Kylian Mbappe goal as well on the 74th minute, who kind of iced the game. Really, he then did score another one. 15 minutes later, 17 minutes later even. It's one of those things where when you look at it from a Polish perspective, and I think you need to look at it from an Australian perspective as well. I think this is the perspective a lot of Australians looked at it when they played France. Is you can beat yourself up about it, and you can beat yourself up about this result, but realistically, when it's France, when it's Kylian Mbappe, it's very hard and it's very tricky to kind of, it's very tricky to, how do you say this? Very tricky to kind of beat yourself up about it because it's Mbappe. And when you come up against Mbappe, it's a different story. And I think this is a good way. Of course, if we're just going to wrap up the game before I speak about Mbappe, penalty awarded in the 98th minute, whatever it was. Lewandowski missed, got retaken because Lloris was off his line. I think that was it. Or some encroachment, either one, or both. And he retook it and scored. In my opinion, if you do the stutters and if you do the hop and the wait and the kind of hesitation when you're trying to kick the ball or when you're going to kick the ball, goalkeepers should be given a little bit of the benefit of the doubt in terms of that, and the players as well should be given a bit of the benefit of the doubt when it comes to encouragement as well, because I mean it is, I wouldn't say it's a dick move, but it is quite like a just fucking kick the ball, stop being a dick. So yeah, of course I came in the 3-1. Let me speak about Mbappe now. Let me speak about Kylian. Where do we start with Kylian now? I've been very critical of Mbappe in the past. I've been very critical about pretty much nothing on field. All I've been critical about is the off-field drama that surrounds Mbappe. But it's undeniable that he's arguably, if not the best player in the world right now, when we're talking on the pitch. If you take everything else out of it and just look at it from a football perspective and a footballing perspective, there is no one else on planet Earth that can do what he's doing right now. He's an extraordinary talent. Like players come through the ranks and they do naturally get compared to the elite players in the world. And if they're good enough, they get compared to the Messis and the Ronaldos. I think Mbappe, at this stage in his career, is on that table in terms of footballing ability. He is just extraordinary. Like, the fact that he's doing this at 21, like he's 21 years old. 23 years old even. He's 23 years old. The fact that he's doing this at 23, he's still got 2 more World Cups in him. How many goals at a World Cup could he have, right? Like a ridiculous amount. He's still got at least 11 years at the top level, in my opinion, if his pace maintains its level. It's just absurd how good he is. The pace, the technical ability, the finishing ability, the football IQ, all second to none. All second to none. And this French side is geared to getting the absolute best out of him on the counter-attack, getting him into space, getting him into areas where he can exploit the opposition one-on-one and isolate defenders. It's a beautiful way of playing football when you're looking at it from an Mbappe perspective, because you get the best out of him and we just see him dominate games and rip teams apart. It's so good to watch. It really is so good to watch. But it's also frustrating to watch because there is a clear way of stopping him in regards of, if there was a defender as quick as Mbappe, I think his ability or his influence on the game would be slightly less drastic, right? Or slightly less potent. But the thing is, there is no one as quick as him. There is no one as agile as him. There is no one as good at defending his technical ability. So it's one of those things. But I've been very critical of him in the past, and while I do think he is trouble, and you need to be very careful when you sign him, because once again, football is a business at the end of the day, right? One player isn't going to bring in millions and millions and millions of pounds, but one player is going to take out millions and millions and millions and millions of pounds. The return on pure liquid cash from buying Mbappe isn't guaranteed. So you're not guaranteed a profit if we're talking pure cash profit when you sign Mbappe. Do you guarantee profit if you calculate profit of success, of trophies, of goals, of exciting football? Then yeah, you will. You will almost certainly make a profit, but you don't buy players based on goals. Like you don't exchange goals with another team to buy a player. You exchange money. And that, at the end of the day, is what football has come down to. So that is my rationale behind thinking Mbappe is a little bit of a just watch where you're coming from, in a sense, and just relax when it comes to saying, oh my god, we must buy him, he's the best thing since sliced bread, etc., etc. Right? Because footballing wise, he is. I think that's undeniable. Just everything else around him, probably and potentially not. Which is the gamble you need to take, and the gamble that you need to the gamble that you need to kind of weigh up in your mind: is it worth it? Is it not? But yeah, France go through. Um, what else? Do I speak about anything else? Obviously, when you look at other players in that team, Griezmann I thought was great. Giroud I thought was great as well. I think that I saw this tweet. I can't remember who it was by, but the presence of a target man in international football, I think, is very underrated. Because of the way international football is played, it's quite territory. It's quite territory based. It's exploiting space. It's doing all that stuff. So having a player who can attract two or three defenders, who has the ability to take a long ball, which can get you territory, win a foul, win a header, win a second ball, and then subsequently, because he attracts two or three defenders to him, the space given for everyone else is so much greater than what it would be. So, I think the use of a target man in the use of a target man, sorry, in international football is quite underrated, in my humble opinion. Apologies, as I had to mute quickly to prevent myself from coughing and disturbing the microphone there and making everything very horrible to listen to. But no, we're all good now. Yeah, Griezmann and Giroud. Yeah, I think they're both great. So they're both really good. I think they work well together. I think they complement each other brilliantly, and they also allow Mbappe and Dembele to have a little bit more freedom because of their work they do. Because the subtleties in their play, which is very good. Let's move on. Let's move on to England versus Senegal. Okay. England, of course. England 3, Senegal 0. Where do we start with this now? Of course, once again, very similar way to the way that the France-Poland game played. England had a lot of the ball. So not had a lot of the ball, I should say, but started the game well and just were very calm and composed, and once again were aggressive out of possession. We're looking to turn the ball or get the turnover quickly, recycle possession. We're very aggressive, winning the second balls, getting their foot in, getting their ability to play the ball, getting their ability to get on the ball a lot quicker than what Senegal would have liked. But yeah, England started the game well, and despite Senegal having potentially the better chances, despite their lack of possession, despite their lack of territory on the game, Senegal potentially did have the better chances throughout. Despite this, I should say, it was England who got the lead through Jordan Henderson. Bellingham in that left half space cut back for Henderson, who scored a pretty easy tap in. It was a when you see Henderson starting, you're kind of confused because a lot of people think, and I do think this as well, that Henderson only starts because Henderson only plays for Liverpool because of Trent. He only plays to protect Trent and to just sit in that right half space, sit at that right back position and allow Trent to play as a right winger, right? Right winger, right? But he played this game and I thought he was very well. I thought he played very well, even. I thought he played exceptional football throughout. I thought he was solid. Just the ability to just be nice and composed on the ball, not try and do too much. Just be very relaxed, be very energetic, high tempo, setting the tone. I thought he was very good, and of course breaking into those final third positions to score the goal is something that we don't necessarily think of Jordan Henderson. We don't think about Jordan Henderson being this kind of late running. Apologies again. We don't think of Jordan Henderson being this late running, bursting play into the box who can get on the score sheet and get an influence in the final third. We don't necessarily think of him as that. So for him to get that goal and to really show that he does have that avenue to his game, is something that is very very good for him. Of course, England decided to put the foot on the throat after they scored the first, and they got their second through Harry Kane, who scored his first goal at the World Cup. It was a pretty good build up to the goal, pretty well taken finish as well, just nice and composed, nice and calm. And they would go into the half 2-0 up, and they were just cruising after that, absolutely cruising after that. They got their third through Bukayo Saka just before the hour mark, and then after that it was pretty much game set match after that. Well, it was game set match after 2-0, let's be honest. But this kind of just confirmed that. Brought on some subs, brought on some players. Calvin Phillips got a run. Mount came off Bellingham, Grealish, Rashford, and Dyer as well. Just get some energy in the legs, get some K's in the legs for the lads, for the boys. But yeah, it was a pretty solid performance from England all around. Shut out Senegal. Really, they didn't really allow Senegal any major chances. Jesus Christ. They didn't really allow Senegal any major chances. They were really just very, very solid, winning the second balls, not allowing Senegal to have that many clear cut chances. I think they had one clear cut chance in the first half. I'm pretty sure, which they missed over the crossbar. If my memory serves me well, but no, England are of course a very formidable opponent, despite what a lot of people think, and they showed this. They swept aside Senegal, a very, very good Senegal side, a Senegal side that won two of their games in the group, and really took Netherlands all the way. They really should have finished top in their group, just because of how well that they played throughout their group. They should have realistically beaten Netherlands. It was two very, very late goals that got Netherlands a 2-0 win. And they beat Qatar, and they beat Senegal. They beat Qatar, and they beat Senegal, and they beat Ecuador even. So, I think second place is a little bit unfair for Senegal, and I think going out in the way that they did is a little bit unfair. But it is football. It's a way that the cookie crumbles, and it is one of those things. It is one of those things, and I think that's pretty stiff on them. Very stiff on them, in fact. But let's move on to Gareth Southgate, and let's move on to Gareth Southgate, because that's a person I want to speak about. That's the person I want to speak about, Gareth Southgate. Now, where do we start with Gareth? Now, a lot of people have been very critical of Southgate, and I've obviously been one of his staunchest defenders of him, but a lot of people, especially after the USA game, were saying sack him mid-tournament. That is one of the most absurd, that is one of the most genuinely absurd things I've ever heard, ever. It's just utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. How can you think that sacking a manager who has got you to a World Cup semi-final with a very, very poor squad? You say that the run that they got to was easy. The squad that they had, it was terrible. Dele Alli was playing a key role in that team. Danny Rose was in that team. Jesse Lingard was in that team. Ruben Loftus-Cheek was in that team. A very young Marcus Rashford was in that team. It wasn't a good squad at all. Comparably to what their squad is 4 years later, night and day difference, right? So they did that in 2018, and in 2021 or 2021, the Euros, they got to a final and were this far away from winning. If Rashford, I've said this countless times on this podcast, if Rashford kicks that ball 3 centimetres to the right, or fucking half a metre to the right, England win the Euros. So you look at it from that perspective, and I'm shocked by people saying that he should be sacked. People were saying that after the USA game, and I was thinking, that is the most entitled thing I've ever heard. And the fact English fans, aren't even enjoying this result and are saying, it's alright, we're going to get knocked out by France, who really cares, it's going to be a shit tournament anyway. The fact that England fans are saying that screams entitlement, screams this arrogance, and screams this just thinking that we're better than everyone, where really you're not. You should be grateful for the position that you're in. You should be grateful for Gareth Southgate, because he's your second most successful manager ever. And if he wins this World Cup, which he's definitely within the shot of doing, he'll be your most successful manager ever. And those people who hate Southgate are going to have to live with that. So get ready to live with that if you think he's shit, because your squad and your manager is more than capable of winning the World Cup. And despite you not thinking that, and it to me, it comes down to bias against Southgate, in my opinion. I think people don't like him because they just don't like him for whatever reason. and they think, oh yeah, just because they lost 4-0 to Hungary in the Nations League, just because that result's a thing, that all of a sudden England should sack him. No, that's not how it works. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. It never will work like that, and it doesn't work like that. England should be grateful for Southgate. England should be grateful for the fact that he's a manager that has been able to get the best out of the squad, get them to get them to a European Championship final, get them to a World Cup final, and potentially has got them to another World Cup quarterfinals. And if they beat France, they could and potentially should go all the way, right? This is a very similar game to the game against to the England-Brazil game 2002. If England win this game against France, they're probably going to win the tournament. So, because in my opinion, Brazil have not looked the same. Brazil don't look that good. I think England, their result against Iran was exceptional. Their win against Wales was just dominant. Their draw against USA wasn't that good, but their win against Senegal was great. And the fact that they're doing this in a back four without having to go into a back five, without having to be that slightly more defensive, that slightly more conservative, goes to show that Gareth Southgate has his team ticking. Yeah, you can say, oh, it's just individual brilliance, like when you got Foden, Saka, Bellingham, Kane. Who else played? Foden, Saka, Bellingham, Kane, Rice. Like when you've got, they're the front four that played. When you've got those talents, what more can you say? Like, of course you need to do this, but it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Football doesn't work like that. And when you look at it from that perspective, England need to be very, very grateful for Gareth Southgate. Very, very grateful for Gareth Southgate because he's a fantastic, fantastic boss, fantastic gaffer, and there you go. What more can you say, really? You need to be grateful for him because he's your second most successful manager ever. Alf Ramsey, I think, was the manager in '66. I think that's it. I think that was his name. So there you go. I want to speak on the game. I want to speak about England-France quickly because this is a game that is going to be decided by one man, and that, of course, is Kylian Mbappe, right? The man that I think England should go with is Kyle Walker. I think Walker versus Mbappe is the matchup. If Walker gets on top, I think England will win. If Mbappe gets on top, I think France will win. That to me is the equation, in my opinion. That to me is the equation because both sides cancel each other out in the way that they play. I don't think France without Mbappe is as good as what a lot of people have said, and I know I've said that will make them win. So if France win, then where's my thanks? I want your thank you letters. All French people out there, but what you kind of expect from this game is a very tense, very timid, quite reserved game from both sides, who are just waiting for this moment of individual talent to get them through the game and get them through, and get them that goal and get them the ascendancy early. Through England, you've got the likes of Kane, Foden, Bellingham, Saka, Mount if he plays, Sterling if he returns in time. I mean, what happened with him is absolutely heartbreaking. So we all hope that everything is okay with him. But if he can return, he can bring that individual brilliance. Even people like Trippier from a set piece, Trent from a set piece, players like this, right? So, that's what England will be looking for, and France will be looking for Mbappe. They're looking for Mbappe. They'll be looking for Dembele to give them that individual talent. To give them that individual piece of individual brilliance to get them past, to get them into the box, to get them in behind, and then for them to get a goal scoring opportunity. I think this is going to be a very intense game, a very intense and very intense game, and I can't wait to see it. What time is it on? Is there a 6 a.m. or a 2 a.m.? Oh, it's a 6 a.m. That's fucking shit. Anyway, let's move on. And let's finish things up with the preview of the week. Once again, slightly shorter, 40 minutes. I think as the games go on, like we've been looking at 4 games every single day except for yesterday, but we just spoke about Australia. Now we're going to 2 games. So I think these are probably going to be bordering on 40 minutes from now on, I think, if not 35 minutes. There's not enough content to speak about, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Okay, let's move on to the 2 games, and this is this is Asia representing Japan, Croatia, Brazil, South Korea. Once again, prediction, no explanation. I haven't got any of the predictions right, by the way, in the knockout stages. Haven't got any of the predictions right. But hopefully we can turn this around. Japan, Croatia. Japan, Croatia. I'm doing the mental arithmetics in my head, deciding who's going to win. I'm going to go with Japan 3, Croatia 1. Fuck, shock result. Brazil, South Korea. Oh, I don't think it's going to be the same. I think South Korea are good, though. I'm going to go Japan. No, I'm going to go Brazil 2, South Korea 1 after extra time. I think it's going to be 0-0 at full time. I think it's going to be 2-1 Brazil after extra time. Okay, we're done. We're done for another episode. Thank you all very much for watching another episode of the 2 Foot Attack podcast. I hope everyone is I hope everyone enjoyed this podcast. If you've stuck around, then please if you've stuck around, then please subscribe, like, do all the good stuff with the links in the description. It would mean the world. Make sure you share it around, give it all the love it deserves. I think I'll do a pretty good job with this. But yeah, make sure leave your thoughts in the comments below. Leave your thoughts who's going to win. Leave your thoughts on England, France. That's going to be a good game. So give me your thoughts about that game in the comments below. But yes, thank you all very much for watching. See you guys tomorrow. Speak soon. Goodbye.